welcome to another episode of Healthy Talks. I am your host, Julie, and today we are honored to be with Garth Van Zyl, who is paramedic and owner of Medicare EMR and Y-Ways Consulting, and also chairman of Sciare.org. Hi, Garth, how are you doing today?
Good evening, and well yourself?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know I'm very excited to hear about paramedic work at music festivals, and I hope that this episode will give some insight to healthcare professionals and to festival goers themselves as to what actually goes in on the background.
Wonderful.
What inspired you to combine your paramedic work with the vibrant atmosphere of music festivals, and how did that lead to the creation of Sciare?
Um, I've been involved in the music industry in South Africa for over 30 years now, of which I've been a paramedic. February this year was 20 years. And music's always been a passion of mine. So it was kind of like giving back to the community, providing the medical services and so on like that. And obviously, being involved with the music festivals and so on from a young age, had a good understanding of what all happens and so on. And we used to have the good old rave safe back in the day with the warehouse raves and so on like that. And over the years, certain people that are on the Sciare board, were creating a safe space where people could come and just relax or get a reality check in the sense of festivals can be overwhelming.
Yes.
All the lights and sounds, especially for neurodiverse people. So it was a safe space where people could come and just talk or whatever the case is and so on, and get advice and learn about things and so on, that we would share. But it was about creating a safe environment for one of the biggest cultures globally, being the dance culture.
Okay, that's brilliant. And has Sciare evolved since its inception, and what is its mission when it comes to supporting the unique needs of festival goers?
Sciare is a science-based organization, and it's harm prevention. There's a lot of the other organizations globally that provide similar services are harm reduction. And harm reduction, we feel, implies that there is a harm. Whereas from our side, it's more prevention, education, people knowing and understanding what it all entails, and therefore empowering them, giving them a better understanding and so on like that. So that was sort of the start of it and so on. Psych is evolving all the time. During COVID, obviously, there was no festivals, and we created masks, and we provided the Western Cape EMS services with masks that we custom made for them, that they could wash and so on and replace filters with. And that's how we basically were keeping busy during COVID. And then obviously now that festivals have started up again and so on like that, one of the things that we're busy planning on and tackling now is actually officially registering the dance culture as a community in South Africa, so that it can be recognized officially by the state as a community, because I think dance as a whole has got a long history in South Africa, backdating with the Khoisan and the shamans around the fire dancing and something like that. So it's something that we believe that we've got a big enough community, and I think it's something that needs to happen, because there's a lot of discrimination that happens as well, from stigma, all this kind of stuff and so on. So we just want to bring it up because there's lots of forms of dance. There's silent discos, there's parties, there's ballet, there's it's something that people do to express themselves. And we have got a constitution in South Africa and freedom of association and so on like that, and we just want to enforce our rights because we have a right to practice our religion or the choice of whatever the case is. And for many, the dance, the ability to break away for a weekend and go to a festival and dance the weekend away does wonders for the psyche and does wonders for your mental health and obviously exercise and so on. But yeah, overall, there's Sciare is evolving, and we look forward to hopefully getting this all in place in the next few months.
Yes, there's even a new psychotherapy, dance movement psychotherapy, and it's a non-verbal type form of counseling. So
Mm,
I think doing that, recognizing dance as a community would be great for people who don't know how to use words when counseling and rather use movement, because that's essentially what it's all about, it's the movement in you.
yeah. And also the type of music that is playing when you are dancing and so on like that. One refers to the trance music, the trance scene and so on like that. The rhythm and bass and the frequencies that are played actually literally put you into a trance. And
Mm,
as the shamans were dancing around the fires and so on like that, worshiping their ancestors and so on like that, it has just evolved into one of the biggest global attended festival exercises that one gets. I mean, some of the big festivals in the UK, DEF CON, Tomorrowland, in
yes,
Europe, and so on like that, attract millions. And it's something that is, yeah, something that a lot of people enjoy.
definitely. And can you share how the fast-paced and high-energy environment of these festivals differs from traditional paramedic roles and how your team prepares for it?
Talking cheese, eh? Traditional paramedic roles is a lot more fast-paced and high-energy environment than the festivals, to be honest. Festivals are actually very relaxed to us. We have a lot of fun. We have entertainment for the weekend. We get to meet a lot of people, a lot of the regular festival goers and so on, and a lot of good friendships and relationships have stemmed from the many years of being involved. And it's something that generally, education on various substances and conditions that one would experience at a festival, from sunstroke to dehydration and something like that, is what we prepare the staff with, and giving them all the necessary tools and so on like that, that they can handle any situations. And we sometimes have on the bigger festivals and so on, like Africa Burn and so on like that, the Sanctuary and so on like that would have
Mm,
qualified doctors and psychiatrists or psychologists as well. The smaller festivals, medics that have got experience and something like that. And then a separate entity would be, for example, like Sciare, there would be a facility
mm,
close to the medical center. So if something that came into Sciare that was maybe medically needing to be checked up, then a medic would go across to the facility and then just check the person out, make sure that they are good, and then return back to the medical side of things. So it's generally quite easy. Cut fingers, stub toes, people walking around in the dark in the forest, whatever the case is. It's seldomly have serious injuries. There has been one or two interesting situations that we've had to deal with over the years, from broken arms from arm wrestling
oh gosh.
to dislocated hips, friends tackling other friends and things like that, stupid stuff that led to serious situations.
Mm.
But other than that, it's fairly easygoing and it's a lot of fun.
I can imagine it's like a little break for you guys as well, going to
Yeah.
away for the
Changes
weekend.
as good as a holiday.
Yes, definitely. And what are some of the key skills and attributes a paramedic needs to thrive in such a dynamic setting? And how do you ensure that your team is ready for such challenges?
I think emotional intelligence, emotional EQ,
Mm,
is a good foundation. Understanding, empathy, obviously solid understanding of neurodiversity and the spectrum, and the different types of conditions that one gets, which tend to pop their heads up at festivals and so on like that, because lots of lights, lots of sounds, lots of people. Sometimes people get overwhelmed and they just need a space to sort of ground themselves with. So, various techniques that we've learned from other organizations, like from Boom and the bigger festivals and so on like that, where you've got the maps
mm,
and their manuals and so on like that, and we've sort of just adapted it to the South African setup, and we also track the data as well. So it helps going forward and something like that when you know sort of what the general feel is of what goes wrong at festivals and so on, and when people start to have difficulties and so on. But yeah, other than that, our normal medical things that we do there are, putting on plasters and cleaning wounds and things like that. On occasion, we might have someone that's got a pre-existing medical condition that we have to treat that's a bit more serious and so on.
Mm.
But seldomly transport patients to hospital. Most of the stuff is actually handled on site at the medical facility or at the Sciare.
That's great. And for you being in the scene for so long, can you recall a memorable or uplifting experience where
Enjoying this episode? Ever thought of starting your own podcast? Podup.com is your go-to. They've got everything you need to run a pro show, including 35 or more AI-powered tools for success. Sign up today for a free starter account and get 15% off with the code HealthETalks15. The code is HealthETalks15. Plus, check out podallies.com for a done-for-you podcasting experience, complete with website, social media, and editing. Start now and let's launch your podcast together.
your role as a paramedic made a significant impact on someone's life at a festival?
Well, there's been a few, I suppose. Memorable mate tackling his other mate and
Yeah.
dislocating his hip on the Friday night.
Oh
Uh,
gosh.
yeah, they'd been there for about an hour and a half, and yeah, one friend would be funny. He thought he was tackling his mate, but they were on a slight slope and dislocated to someone diving into a shallow dam and being airlifted out.
Oh
And
gosh.
on the more serious side of things, where we had the one festival, at the end of the one festival, there was a double overdose of a couple, and sat and managed that for a few hours and something like that until they were stabilized and ready to go home. I think it's something that yeah, lots of experience. I've met a lot of my good friends that actually I've met at the festivals and something like that, because we tend to often get bored
Mm.
because there's nothing happening from our like medical professional. Like there's nothing happening. There's no patients or other cases and so on. Then you start getting mischievous and get onto the PA system and you start whispering and sending subliminal messages out.
And speaking of your team, like going around, does your team promote health and safety before, during, and after these events? And what advice do you have for festival goers to stay health and safe during the event?
Yeah, I think the guys when they arrive, they tend to walk around, go see all the stores, check the layout of the venue, etc. A lot of the venues we work at regularly, so we know where things are placed and so on like that. But it's just like also being a visible prevention like type of thing where you're visible policing and so on like that.
Yes.
When there's visible policing, there's less crime. The same as with us when we're walking around and you see someone that's just arrived on the Friday afternoon. And it's Friday 7 o'clock, and it's already intoxicated and so on. You just go chat to them and say to them, "Hey, buddy, like you don't want to be have too much of a heavy hangover for tomorrow morning and
Yes.
miss the festival. Like take it easy, drink some water, hydrate, and eat something, whatever the case is, and so on." And try and keep it soft and light-hearted and fun. And when you see someone that's having a really good time, just keep safe, whatever the case
Mm.
is, and just talk and chat to them, and yeah, otherwise just a visual um, walking around and yeah, being visual and something like that, and teaching people if they ask questions about things and something. Because a lot of people come to us and they ask like, "What's the worst thing you've seen as a paramedic?"
Yes.
Not realizing that you're asking the paramedic to actually like recall the most traumatic thing that they've experienced in their life and yeah, rehash that through. So it's not a kind of a good question to be asking paramedics or nurses and something like that. So
Mm.
yeah, just take note.
Yes, definitely. And you said earlier that you want to give back to the community, and that's why you started it. But in what ways do you feel working at these festivals enhances your connection to community, and how does that differ from your typical paramedical duties during the day?
Well, my paramedic duties in South Africa is I run a community-based emergency service for the past 20 years. And well, yeah, 19 years. November will be 19. And the music festival is something that's close to my heart, because I was there when it started in South Africa. Music is something that extends borders and crosses borders, and breaks boundaries down and things like that. So being a paramedic and I've always been a music party animal kind of vibe, and becoming a paramedic, I just acquired some skills that can save someone's life, and just sharing those skills with at festivals and so on like that gives a lot of people peace of mind and comfort, knowing that we're there. And I used to do a lot of the festivals every year, and people get to know, and they know who you are, and they know that you're a character and you're funny and you're entertainment. If they bored, whatever the case is, they can come sit with us in the medical tent and talk nonsense. So it's something that just felt that was
Yes.
my way of redeeming my naughtiness as a young man.
And how do you support like mental health or festival goers? Like you mentioned, it's the lights, it's the music, sometimes can be overwhelming. What trends or concerns have you noticed regarding the well-being of at these events?
I think there's a big focus on mental health after the pandemic, and people are learning more and more about mental health and neurodiversity. Me being myself, I'm neurodiverse. I've got ADHD, if you haven't noticed, and then squirrel, and yeah. I'm also autistic, as well as I have alexithymia, which is a recent condition that we discovered and we learned about. And during COVID, we delved into neurodiversity and really went down the rabbit hole, basically, because my wife is also neurodiverse. She suffers from synesthesia, for example, which is sensory overload. So a lot of the times when she's at a festival and something like that, and things are just too much and something like that, she'll just go to the tent and break away from everything and something like that, because it just gets too much. You literally hear and taste sounds, and it becomes more than just something that you're seeing and something that you're hearing, because it's so intense. And then obviously sharing that knowledge with the Sciare, because it's not always we've got normal members of society that are involved in Sciare, as well as medical staff as well. So there would be a medical staff there to do the medical side of things and so on, and assess and send over to medical if needed. But there's a group of volunteers that we've had and that we've worked with. People have got similar passions as well, who are also neurodiverse, so they also have a better understanding of it. And having a better understanding of neurodiversity helps explaining these things to people that might not necessarily know that they're neurodiverse, and the feelings that they're feeling and experiences they're experiencing at the festival and so on is actually due to the neurodiversity. So it's a very passionate thing that drives us, because we are science based. So being a paramedic, things need to be not wishy-washy and
Yes.
airy-fairy. Yeah.
And for my last question for you for this podcast, looking ahead, what are your goals for Sciare, and how do you see paramedics playing an increasingly important role in festival safety in the future?
I think Sciare's goals, as we are ever evolving and so on like that, is obviously to continue providing the services and safe spaces that we do at festivals and so on, but also tackling this whole dance culture thing, which is, I think, constitutionally in South Africa for us, it's our right, and people's rights to be able to associate with whatever they choose to do and things. And that, I think, that is the big project that we will be tackling now. The future thereafter, I don't know, but I think that this is going to be something very special if we do manage to get it all into place and so on. And paramedics, yeah, they will always play a role in festivals. It's health and safety, and I think South Africa is not as strict as the UK, for example, with health and safety. We are getting there, and it is something that is a developing industry in South Africa. We've got some new organizations and Sciare and things like that that have been recognized and are developing the health and safety industry. And it all falls part under health and safety. So it's not just about, medical. It's
Yes.
about safety as a whole, safety conscious, safety mind, safety mindset that we should all be having, whether it's at home or at work or at the festival.
Yes, and also education, like just letting them know
Yes.
about
Yeah.
everything and just educating people around it so that they can also, if they're in a similar situation and you aren't around, then they can help their fellow festival goer or friend or loved one.
That's the thing. It's when you example when we teach CPR to people and something like that, just by simply vocalizing what you are doing when you are doing CPR, people that are watching you and surrounding you and the gawkers and something like that are actually learning CPR because you're verbalizing it. You're doing 30 compressions, you're doing 2 breaths, and you're explaining that you're opening up the airway and making sure the airway is clear. You're going to give your 2 breaths and then you get back on the chest. It's education and sharing those experiences and so on like that tends to carry on. And rather than someone not doing anything, that someone actually just doing something,
Yes.
might not be doing it 100% correct without the correct training, but at least they're doing something. It's a proactive and so on like that. And yeah, it's just something that is deep in my heart for sharing and making sure that we can change the world step by step, little by little.
That's amazing. Well, Garth, thank you so much for your time. It was really a pleasure to talk to you and to see the other side of things of music festivals. And I do hope that our listeners out there will also learn more and also just be a bit more respectful of the environment and educating those around them.
Yes, leave no trace.
There we go. Perfect. Well, for
Thank
all
you for
our
the
listeners,
opportunity to chat to you
oh,
guys. And yeah,
only a pleasure. I love it. And to all our listeners out there, remember to like and subscribe, and we'll put all the details for Sciare.org with this podcast, so go check them out.